Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7.
Okay, dude, I'm gonna ring her. Don't panic. All right, I'm gonna ring her. It's ringing now.
Hello.
Hi, Nozomi. Hi, it's Sam and Dylan. Sega does. We saw you at the book signing the other week. It's amazing. That book's really good. So yeah, you mentioned something you might want to come on the show. We're going to be doing a Shenmue episode. It might be really cool.
Bill, what is it?
No, not Rio. Sam and Dylan.
Bill, what is it?
No, we want you to come on the show.
I'll be waiting at the shop then.
No.
All right?
No, darling, not the shop. The show. Remember? You said you'd come? Sega does.
Okay, see you there.
She hung up. Is she coming?
You said Sega does, so I think she knew.
Okay, well, we'll start then.
Do you know of a place where sailors hang out?
Woo! Shenmue. Amazing. Oh, man. Welcome to the Sega Does podcast, episode 30?
Is that right?
Yeah.
30?
30 episodes. Wow.
Episode Shenmue. That's what
Episode
this is.
Shenmue. We thought we'd celebrate the episode that is episode 30 of the Sega Does podcast, and it is also our yearly tradition now, I suppose we could say, of being part of the Radio Sega Winterfest 2015.
Yes.
And today, people, we are talking about Shenmue. But who are we? Well, if you're listening on Radio Sega, we are the Sega Does podcast, the sister podcast to the site that is reviewing every single game ever released for a Sega console ever. Ever. Now, who's reviewing them? Not me, because I'm not that stupid. I am Sam, the Pixel Dude, and virtually to my left, we have the crazy man himself, the Dylan D. How are we doing, Dylan?
I am just flat out bonkers to be here. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. So, usually, we talk about the recent games that you've been reviewing on
Correct.
the Sega Does site.
Yes.
But this is Christmas. This is Sega. And
Yeah.
we thought we'd give you a little bit of a special treat, and we're going to be talking about Shenmue.
We're going to be jumping 12 years ahead?
Yeah.
No, 11.
11.
11 years ahead from where I'm currently at in the blog to play Shenmue. But we're not really discussing it. This isn't like a traditional review
It's
discussion.
not a review, no. It's more of we wanted to have a little bit of fun. What can we do? Let's talk about Shenmue. Now, we was originally going to do this episode after the Shenmue 3 announcement, which was obviously
Yes.
very exciting. But that didn't happen because I decided to get a little bit lazy. And some things happened. Anyway, we're now here. We are going to talk about Shenmue. The craziness that is Shenmue. One of my favourite games ever. I will admit, Shenmue was the game that sucked me in. I wanted Dreamcast more than life itself, and Shenmue was the main cause of it. Now, I can be, now, after many years of counselling, many counselling sessions later, I can admit Shenmue is not the greatest game ever made. Quite. But it was very groundbreaking for a few reasons, and we're going to talk about those today. Now, Shenmue, the killer app, was a thing, believe it or not, back in the day for console games. We obviously, just before Shenmue came out, we had the Smash that was the killer app of Mario 64. We had, you could probably call GoldenEye a killer app as well. Also, we had Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation 1, and Tomb Raider and Metal Gear. The killer app, it was a thing. It was a thing back in the 90s. Sega knew this and proceeded to give their Miyamoto, should we say, their Yu Suzuki, free reign and unlimited budget pretty much to make the killer app for their last-ditch attempt to take control of the hardware market. And that turned into Shenmue. Now, Dylan, the West versus the East, West versus the East-West, should we say, European versus the American take on this game. I've never heard an American talk about this game. So I would like to know your first impressions of Shenmue.
Okay, well, before we... no, I'll just go into it. I'm confused. You've never heard an American, like, on a podcast? Or
Nope.
You've never...
Nope, never.
Wow, okay. Well, it was... Shenmue was highly anticipated. I was personally intrigued, but as a teenager during the time of the Dreamcast release, I had no money, and I wouldn't have...
Sounds so similar.
Sega burned... I don't know if they burned me so much, but they kind of just left a bad taste in my mouth after the Saturn.
Yeah.
But after the first year of the Dreamcast, where they just went gangbusters and were releasing great game after great game, I thought, oh, maybe I should look back into Sega. And Shenmue was one of the main reasons, even though it hadn't come out at the time. And I played it about 2 years late, I want to say.
Yeah.
My friend got me a Dreamcast after they'd been discontinued, and I played it. And keeping in mind that at the time, Grand Theft Auto 3 had come out.
Yeah.
People had raved about it. I think I had even played it a little bit. But open world games still weren't a thing on consoles.
No.
And this blew my mind, even though basically all you do is micromanage for the first half of the game.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It might not be the first half, but
Yeah.
I love the cheesy voice acting. I loved, when I say I loved it, I mean that it was endearing to me.
Yeah.
Where I didn't like a lot of dubbed voice acting, say in like anime that I would watch at the time.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stand that. But like for whatever reason, Shenmue was a bit different. And I loved wandering around just a small little area of Japan, because I think that honestly remains the game's biggest strength.
I agree, yeah.
You really get a taste of not like Tokyo, but just like some little town in Japan somewhere. It could be anywhere. And and watching, different shows about Japan in the years since I played Shenmue, it shows me that they got it right for the most part.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because Shenmue was meant to be this big, massive blockbuster, and it was. It ticked all the boxes when it came to blockbuster games in terms of, graphics, sound, detail, budget, all these kind of things. But Shenmue isn't a huge game.
No.
It's a massive game, but in terms of its style over substance, I think there are 4, maybe 5 areas. There's his house, there's the village, there's the town, there's the harbour, and I think that's it. I think that's about it. But all those areas are filled with all the detail and all the just everything you expect. You walk down the street, you expect to see a lamppost, a trash can, power lines, cracks in the pavement, all the drainage, the guttering, the walls. It just like the pieces of rubbish on the floor. It just had absolutely everything. You walk into a shop, you can pick up every single can on a shelf, every single box. You can look at everything. Everything was its own item that can be interacted with, and this was the first game that could do that. I mean, that just blew my mind. I played it like you. I pined, well, probably not like you. I pined over Shenmue. I wanted it so bad, and I couldn't have it because my brother made us get a PS2 instead, which obviously was the better choice in the end. But my first bit of money I ever got from doing some jobs, I saved up about 60 quid, 70 quid, and a guy at school was selling his Dreamcast, and I bought it off him straight away because it had Shenmue, and I sat and I played it, and a little git, he did me over because it didn't have disc 3, and I didn't know how many discs it had. I just thought it was a 2-disc game, and so I didn't have disc 3, and so I played 2 discs of Shenmue for about 3 years, and unfortunately I didn't see the end for a long time. But this was about 2002, 2003, yeah, it must have been about then. And apart from thinking the Dreamcast was broken because of the horrible noise it was making when it loaded, little did I know that's just what they did. It just knocked me over. It just like, wow. I mean, I played PS2 games. I played The Bouncer, for crying out loud. Come on. Right? I played Grand Theft Auto. I played Metal Gear Solid 2. This game still knocked my socks off. And the voice acting is the first point I want to talk about. Are you prepared to talk about the voice acting?
I am.
Okay,
yes.
Right now. I have come to the conclusion there are 2 kinds of people that play Shenmue. There are the kinds of people that play Shenmue that have played Japanese games before and understand that this is a localized product and they give the vocals a free pass. Probably that group includes you and me. Would you say that?
I would say. I mean, I would say that if I didn't find the voices endearing in a ridiculous way,
yeah,
I'd be annoyed. But
yes. Well, then that brings me on to camp number 2, which doesn't understand that this game is localized, doesn't understand what Japan is, and completely mistook this game for what it was trying to do, and ripped into it for the absolute horrid localization, which I think is the sole reason this game failed.
Really?
Yes.
Just the English
Just
localization.
that. I mean, it's just terrible. I mean, right. This is a Japanese guy, localized in Shenmue, putting on an Italian accent in a restaurant. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Italiana is so nice. Carino, amore, Makanozomi, heart beats so fast, huh?
Need I say more?
Oh. Yeah, and you know, it's funny because they really had a hard time with the English voices, which cracks me up because it's like, or you could have just done subtitles. Like, what? I know.
I know one.
I know. Oh my god.
I see them at night.
Do you? Oh.
American gamers don't like to read.
No. Well, this was one of the first games actually where you had a choice. Like you didn't actually have to read. There was enough like space on the disc to get all the vocals on for once, and they just the reason the vocals fell apart, which I investigated a few years later, it turns out that there was a few mistakes made. Number one, Yu Suzuki, bless him, he could make good games, but he must have been on the crack of cocaine during this project because he went power mad. Now, apparently, Yu Suzuki isn't one to get power mad when he makes games. Apparently, he likes a nice team that talks to each other and is very calm, takes their time, blah, blah, blah. But on this project, he went absolutely nuts, and he insisted on overseeing absolutely everything. That includes the vocals, the Japanese vocals, and the English vocals. Now, at this time, Yu Suzuki could not speak a word of English, which is just fine. Okay, not expected to, because you Japanese guy lives in Japan. You know, you speak Japanese, fine. But he insisted on picking all, and I mean all, of the vocal artists, every single one. So there's the first problem. Second problem, he didn't pick the vocal artists on their talent. He picked them on how they looked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. So, you get things like this.
Have you dropped another plate or something?
It's just...
Should I be worried about you?
You should be very worried, darling. Now, Shenmue. obviously, apparently, it was intended to be this massive grand opus of, I think it was 13 parts. Believe it or not.
Yeah, it was 13 parts, but wasn't it only supposed to be like a handful of games?
Well, this is the debated thing. Yu Suzuki's never really given a definitive answer. I think actually he did like bow down to Sega heads and say, "Okay, I'll only make 6 games," which turned into 3. Which obviously, very famously, 2 came out, and the last one is will be appearing soon. It's quite amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to talk much about Shenmue 2, actually. I don't really want to talk about Shenmue 1. It's more important.
It's true. I mean, it's the granddaddy, and it kicked off. I don't know. Even though today I don't think it. I don't want to say it doesn't hold up. I almost just feel like it's a time capsule.
Yeah.
Like you look at it and you're like, wow, it's like going back in time. And it's funny that it feels that way because even when you play the game the first time, it takes place in the 80s, so you feel like you go back in time a little bit anyway. So it almost just feels like this curious piece that you look at in a museum and ponder. You know, you're just like, so like it was a successful game, it wasn't a successful game.
Yeah.
It was a game, it was an open world game, but it was very small.
Let's discuss what kind of game this actually was. It was a third-person RPG. Now, I say RPG in a very vague sense because it was part adventure game, part action game, part puzzle solving. You know, it just had all these elements that were. Would you say any one of the elements was done to near perfection? I mean, I always felt the fighting felt a bit stiff.
Stiff compared to like Virtua Fighter, for sure.
Because I mean, the game originally started off; it was meant to be a virtual fighter RPG, which was quite smart. They should look at that again. But yeah, so it's an RPG basically, and you are Rio. You come home one day to find your father's getting roughed up by some guy who wants a mirror, and he finds out that the mirror has been belonging to your father that he's after, and he comes over and he sorts him out basically, and he says, right, I'm going to kill your son, as he knew Rio, if you don't give him this mirror. And so obviously he says, okay, it's buried under the cherry tree. I think it's cherry tree, because you do
cherry
that.
blossom.
Yeah,
cherry blossom.
Yeah. And so he finds it anyway. Then he proceeds to kill your father. Dun dun dun. Which is obviously the main plot of every good 80s anything, you know, song, game, film, anything. And so the game is a revenge tale. You are out to get your father's killer, and that's basically it. Now, along the way, you find out that there is actually another mirror, and you kind of go on a little not a side quest, but along with the story, you think, wow, if I find this mirror, maybe I can find the guy who wants it as well. Obviously, he wants 2. So you find the mirror, and basically then you head off to Hong Kong, and then the game ends quite abruptly.
Yeah. It'd be like watching Fellowship of the Ring, not knowing it's supposed to be a trilogy. You know, you're just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That was great, but what just happened?
Yeah, and if that felt like a really short story synopsis, it's because it is. That's basically it. You find out there's a mirror missing, you find it, and then you go to Hong Kong. That is all you do in Shenmue. But the way you go around doing that is so complicated, with lots of little fetch quests and talking to people and translating things, and just finding people going places at certain times of day, at night time, and blah blah blah, and managing your relationships and stuff like that. It's very hard game to define.
Yeah, it's almost like to add to the whole, it's part action, part adventure. It also is. It feels like part relationship simulator, but not in a not in a romantic way, although there is a little bit of that.
Bit.
But also just how you have relationships with the people in your town and what that means. Or I keep saying town, but isn't it like a prefecture? Is that prefect? I don't know.
What does that mean? I don't understand. We don't
That's
have
like
those here.
Right. Well, they don't have them in America either, but
Oh.
it's Japan section, I guess.
Yeah. I
yeah.
think I know what you mean. Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to go for, because they never actually. No one ever talks about like the big city or anything like that. No. Imagine how much
But what
that
are
game
s-
would cost.
Well, I mean, Hong Kong. I was kind of expecting Hong Kong to have that, and it definitely feels
It's
bigger in Shenmue
Yeah.
2. But even so, it feels restrictive.
Yeah.
It almost feels more restrictive than Shenmue 1, but that's kind of a tangent. So what are some of the things you can do in this game
Well,
that don't have anything to do with anything?
well, let's see. You can. There's the arcade, obviously. That was
Right.
That was quite a big part of this game. There is an arcade, and you can play arcade games. Now, we don't just mean like a little mini game, like as in you got games in previous. No. You can play fully fledged Sega arcade games. I believe there is Space Harrier, Outrun,
All Yu Suzuki games.
all Yu Suzuki games, obviously.
Yeah.
Also,
Hang on.
Hang On.
maybe.
Of course, it's Hang On. Outrun might not be in it. I might be thinking of Hang On. I think I'm wrong there. Hang On. But there's also darts. You can play darts. There's like a boxing kind of reaction time game thing. But anyway, other things you can do in Shenmue. What else can you do? Well, you can look after a cat.
Yes.
That's great.
That was a thrilling subplot right there.
You can get your hair cut.
It always ends up looking the same, though.
It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always wondered that. You can gamble.
Is he even of age?
I have no
Is he
idea
like-
what the age limit is in Japan. It's usually younger for everything.
That's true.
I
I
don't
know.
think- I don't think-
America's weird. I don't know how old he is. It doesn't matter. But you can gamble, so there you go.
Yeah, great.
You get a part-time job at one point.
Yes, you become a forklift truck driver for a long time.
For a long time.
So apart from being an RPG, a fighting game, and an adventure game, it's also a job simulator, which is exactly what you want to play when you come home from your job.
Yeah.
I remember that being
I'll-
one of the main sticking points of the game.
I was gonna say, I'll say that even in 2002 when I played this, I'm like, you got to be kidding me! Like you're making me do this. I was not about it at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Now, apparently, Dylan, we're on Radio Sega right now.
Radio Sega.
Yay! So really, we better play some music. Now, here on the Sega Does podcast, we like to find quite interesting music. Well, I like to try and find quite interesting music. Now, I found this song, which is called Shenmue's Looking for Sailors. Okay? Now, don't laugh.
I'm with you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'm very sorry, but I could not find the band's name from where I got it from. So, apologies to the band, whoever made Shenmue Looking for Sailors, but I found the MP3 and the data stamp on it was like 2005, so I very much doubt they're still around. And if they are, they're like 11 years older anyway, so I don't think they'll care much. But, so I apologise for that. So, I'm going to try and do this on the fly. This is very interesting. Right, so here we go. This is... Listen to the lyrics, okay? I promise you. Okay, this is Shenmue. Looking for Sailors.
Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7. Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7.
My name's Rio. I live in Japan. With my dad and my grandma, some guy
Game over. Guess I'll try again.
Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7.
There we go. That is Shenmue looking for sailors.
You know, if you wouldn't have told me it was 2005, I would have guessed.
Yes,
Because,
that is so magic numbers. It is unbelievable.
yeah, reminds me of something that would have been on Garden State if Zach Braff was obsessed with Shenmue.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, that was something.
That was something, all right. That was very 2005. Now, Shenmue. Why do people love this game so much, Dylan? Why?
That's a good question, because I would argue that Sega surpassed it with Yakuza. And I say that as someone who only really reads about Yakuza and hasn't played them.
Yeah, I've never played them.
But that game feels like whatever was learned from Shenmue, Yakuza is now.
Yeah.
And apparently, for those who appreciate those games, they're just amazing. But Shenmue fans, I feel like, are not Yakuza fans. Or if they are, they don't put it on that same level. And
No.
that I don't understand.
No.
Because, I mean, it has to be when you experience this game at a time in your life when you were maybe a teenager and you'd never played a game like it, and there still really isn't a game 100% like Shenmue. Still.
No.
But so many games have come along and improved upon things that are done in there that to appreciate it to the level that you did as a teenager, I don't understand that.
No, not quite. I mean, hindsight's a beautiful thing. If you think about when this game actually came out, okay, so let's have a look. It actually came out in December 1999. Okay.
Yeah.
So this game was finished, wrapped up, in the can, 1999. We, over here, didn't get it until late 2000, okay, which was obviously PlayStation 2 time. But if you think about this game being a year earlier, in 1999, we'd got what? We'd got Tekken 3 was a year old. We'd got... What else we got?
What did come out in 99?
No, that's a good question. We've got like Tomb Raider 3. And then you've got Shenmue. Just think about that. That's crazy.
It's pretty epic and ambitious.
Dino Crisis.
Silent Hill came out.
Silent
earlier,
Hill.
99.
There you go. That's a very good comparison, actually. You think about that. You think how good, this is pure graphic horror moment, but how good Shenmue looked compared to Silent Hill.
That's true.
I mean,
it's not even a contest.
No, it's
Shenmue
like
just looks
there's
better.
about a $70 million difference.
Right.
But you get what you pay for. The fact they could squeeze that, I mean, people didn't believe this game was running on a Dreamcast. When it was first announced, I've watched a few press conferences and read a few articles at the time. It wasn't believed. The same way the Metal Gear 2 demos were not believed. But it did deliver. And this game looked better than most PS2 games did for about a year and a bit, without a doubt. It just looks so good. It's just I'm so disappointed in the sound. It's the localization that gives you that bitter taste. That it is. Don't you agree?
Yeah, and I really think that Shenmue kind of screwed over Sega in the sense that if you think about how much this game cost, okay?
Right.
Think about how much they put into this. I think the number I read was $47 million.
Yeah.
That's what Yu Suzuki said.
Yeah.
Recently, and $47 million 15 years ago, but even before that, so like mid 90s.
Yeah, this
game working on this for a while.
It was a Saturn prototype. There are many videos out there of it running, and to be fair, looking pretty complete on a Saturn.
Yeah. So you got to think mid 90s. Sega's not doing hot anyway, but
No.
they still sitting on Genesis cash, and they're like, you know what? Yu Suzuki's never steered us wrong. Have all the money you want, despite the fact that we're not making any money from the Saturn except for in Japan. That was not a smart
It was just
idea.
put it all on red, wasn't it? It just,
Yep.
it was just like, well, this guy's never lost, so.
And
go.
actually, I read an article today that kind of not amused me. I feel bad for the guy, but apparently, it's going to cost 1.5 billion, or Star Wars Episode 7 needs to make 1.5 billion dollars for it to be a success.
Wow.
And J.J. Abrams
Jesus.
is terrified. That's what I read on this article, and I'm like, that's kind of like Shenmue. It's
is.
like Shenmue has to make a gajillion dollars, and the Dreamcast. I don't even know if the Dreamcast
Well, apparently
had enough.
No,
had enough
apparently
buyers.
it had to sell 1.78 copies per Dreamcast to make its money back.
Right, because the 47 million wasn't just, or was it just? I'm sorry, it was only for Shenmue 1,
Yes,
right?
yes. The numbers for that went into Shenmue 2 and subsequent development on Shenmue 3, which apparently was, being worked on, have never been announced. Shenmue 1 cost $47 million.
Yeah.
Wow. That's just crazy.
Yeah. So
That's
Sega-
that's like a good budget now.
that's like a not. Yeah, I mean it's still expensive, but you could easily sell 1 million copies or 1.5 million and be okay. And Shenmue sold almost 1.5 million, and it was not okay.
No.
And
No.
then the Dreamcast sunk, and then I'm assuming Microsoft paid Sega something to get Shenmue 2 on Xbox.
Well, this is
here
the
in
funny
America.
thing, because we got Shenmue 2 on the Dreamcast.
Right? Yeah.
It was not localized. Or the vocals were not localized. It was subtitled. Personally, I do not think it's a better game.
No, the second one's just not as memorable. Period.
It's too big. The charm of Shenmue was, it's like a what do you call them over there? Is it a diorama? You have like a little scene set up, and everything's perfectly detailed. Am I thinking the right thing?
Yeah, it's Shenmue 2.
It's too big.
Well, it's too big, and it can't possibly cover all of Hong Kong, right? I mean,
No,
there's no way.
they tried. It was pretty big.
Kinda. But Shenmue 2 had to rely more on the story, which wasn't.
Yeah, for
Wasn't
a
that
guy
great.
who'd made a load of games that were basically just shoot, shoot, bang, bang, the script that he came up with, which was completely of his own making apparently, and was all okayed by him because he oversaw everything, wasn't very good.
No.
No. It's a very basic revenge tale, really.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I remember playing it and thinking that Shenmue 2 felt like a cheesy action game, like it was trying to go more for an action feel, even though you still had stuff like where like to play a game of Lucky Hit, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it still felt more like an action title, whereas Shenmue 1, despite the revenge story, felt like a slice of life in Japan.
Yeah.
And that's what appealed to me about it. And so playing Shenmue 2, I'm like, same character,
Yeah.
but
In
it almost just felt like a different series, almost, in a way.
The first one very much felt like a, it's going to sound very strange, but a virtual pet game. Because of the clock. Now, this was I can't think of a game before it. Definitely not a 3D open world game that had like a night-day, full 24-hour cycle where people and events happened at certain times. Every single person in Shenmue had a schedule. But it wasn't just like a daily schedule. They had a yearly schedule. And I think that's probably why this game cost so much money, because somebody had to sit down for every single character and figure out what they would do on every single day of the week for a year. Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And to get people to do that for every single character, and there are a lot of characters in this game. I mean, the bloody fishmonger has an in-depth like where he's going to be at certain times of day, and he goes and gets his lunch, and then he comes back, and then he goes home, and he shuts up. It's like if you stand there all day, you can see him come to work, open up, all the shutters go up, stands there, sells all his stuff, goes out to lunch, comes back, goes and sees somebody, comes back, locks up, goes home, wait 12 hours, he'll come back. That was the most impressive part to me, Shenmue, probably beyond the graphics, was the fact that this was a simulation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point, because I'd forgotten about that. I'd forgotten that every character had their routine.
Everyone forgets about it.
Yeah. Every character had their routine.
Even Tom.
It's pretty... Even what?
Even Tom.
Yeah.
You remember Tom?
Oh, gosh. The Jamaican guy?
Well, was he?
Well, whatever he was.
I don't know what the hell he was. I think maybe his mum went on vacation to Japan one day and didn't tell Dad.
I think he's a stranger in a strange land. That's what I think.
He's happy. That's all that matters.
True. He's one of the more memorable characters in the game.
Now then,
no doubt.
Keeping on this tradition of Shenmue, with all its mini games, we're going to play some games, Dylan.
Yes.
And we would like all you to join along at home. Now, we have 2 games. Okay. The first one is a guessing game. Actually, they're both kind of guessing games. But the first one is very simple, and the second one you have a few different options. So what do you want to play first? You want simple, or do you want a few options? What do you want?
Let's start with simple.
Okay,
let's
simple.
go simple first.
First, we're going to play What the Hell Is This Crazy Guy Talking About? Not the most original name for a game, I must admit. So in this game, we're going to hear a clip from Shenmue from one of the many multiple intriguing NPCs in this game. And you've got to guess, what the hell is this guy talking about?
All right.
Okay. Very dramatic for a one-sound clip. Anyway, so, Dylan and everybody at home, what the hell is this guy talking about?
This urge is so strong.
This urge is so strong.
This urge is so strong.
That's the first part. This urge is so strong. What could he be talking about?
This urge is so strong.
The urge for revenge.
Revenge. Let's see what else he has to say.
I'd happily pay.
He'd happily pay. Would you pay for revenge? Maybe.
Maybe he's hungry.
Maybe he's hungry.
Yeah.
Let's have a listen again.
This urge is so strong. I'd happily pay. All I want to do is...
All he wants to do is what, Dylan? He'd happily pay. The urge is so strong.
Well, since you're not giving me food, and since revenge is out, the only thing I can think of that is probably...
You will never get this in a million years.
Watering flowers.
Watering flowers. Okay. So, Mr. Mysterious, can't remember your name, NPC in Shenmue. What the hell are you talking about?
Cut Tom's hair.
He wants to cut Tom's hair!
Ah.
Of course he does. Dylan.
This urge is so strong.
So strong.
I'd happily pay.
He'd pay to do it.
All I want to do is cut Tom's hair.
That's all
you
he
know?
wants to do. You know?
Yeah. I guess I'm out of luck, eh?
I guess you're out of luck there, pal. So that was... What the hell are you talking about, Willis? Now, you would not guess that now, would you?
I would not what?
You would not ever have guessed that in a million years.
No, but I was on the right track with my watering flowers remark because it was something really random and
It was. So until next
not
time,
what I expected.
that was... What the hell are you talking about? Oh, yeah. Now then. Next game. Are you prepared?
I am prepared.
Okay. This is called You Sailor, No Sailor. Okay? Now then.
Okay.
I'm going to play you a few clips. Now, very, very famously, in Shenmue. What's he trying to find, Dylan, in Shenmue?
He's trying to find the man who killed his father.
Yes, he is. Now, people always forget that because...
Do you know of a place where sailors hang out? Do you know of a place where sailors hang out?
See, he's just trying to find some sailors for half of the game. And people make so many jokes about, like, Ryu trying to find some sailors. So we're going to play Who's Sailor, No Sailor. Now, you got to guess whether these guys are sailors from Shenmue or not. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, here we go. First one.
Yeah, mean-looking guy.
I would say yes.
No.
Hesitantly.
He is no
No.
sailor. He's in
Who is
fact...
he?
He's just a general... He was moving some boxes on the street. So I don't actually know who he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, mean-looking guy.
Good-looking guy. Okay, now then. Is he sailor, no sailor?
You didn't even want to get a tattoo, did you?
Ooh.
Tattoo.
Tattoos.
He should see a guy called Charlie.
No, he is not.
You are correct. He's a
Yeah.
biker.
You didn't even want to get a tattoo, did you?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. He sounded a little too intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now then, is this guy sailor?
It doesn't look like you need a haircut just yet.
She could have been. She? Because it definitely sounds like an old woman. I'm going to go ahead and say that she probably knew some sailors, maybe back in the day. But not now.
Okay. You are correct.
It
Yeah.
doesn't look like you need a haircut just yet.
No, it doesn't. Okay, what about this guy?
Buy me a bourbon.
Buy me a bourbon.
Buy me a bourbon.
Well, sailors are known to drink.
Yeah.
Not sure how fond they are of bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me ask this. I don't know if I can ask this. Is he talking to Rio?
He's talking to Rio.
Buy me a bourbon.
I'm going to go ahead and say he is a sailor?
He's not a sailor.
He's not. Yeah.
He's playing on the pool table next to the sailors.
Dang.
Okay, last one.
Okay.
What are you, some kind of TV detective or something? What are you, some kind of TV detective or something?
Yes, that guy is totally a sailor.
He is a sailor.
Yeah.
Well done there, Dylan.
All right.
Yes.
Should I be worried about you?
You should be very worried. What else we got in here? What about,
I'm looking for a cheap way to travel overseas.
looking for a cheap way to go overseas. How would you go overseas, Dylan?
Cheaply, but not uncomfortably. So
No.
if that means spending a little extra, then I guess that's what I'll have to do. Because
Would you go by
flying-
boat? Would you go by boat?
ooh, no.
This is the
I don't
80s,
think so.
remember?
I know, but get a plane ticket. He lives in a nice house.
Is pretty nice.
Traveling by boat's pretty nice.
That's a nice house. How does he not have any money?
Don't know.
Question. How does he not have any
That's
money?
a good point. That's like the biggest house in the village, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
I see a plot hole. Suzuki.
One? Really?
One of.
Do you know any Chinese people?
Do you think Ryu's a racist?
You know what he is?
What?
He's like this naive little boy who doesn't know anything.
It's like he's never been outside that house.
Right.
And he
exactly.
has to get his revenge. And he just...
Yeah, and he's like, dang it, now I gotta figure out the world.
Yeah.
Gotta learn what's going on.
It should be called Learn with Ryu. Oh, bless him. What else have we got in here? Funny. I pulled some funny guys out. I thought were funny. Let's have a look. So we've got the old sailors.
Do you know of a place where sailors hang out?
And then if you didn't have any context and then played this right after it,
All of the sailors are big, you know.
that'd be quite fun. I don't know.
Buy me a bourbon.
No.
Are you guys sailors?
No. It's so funny. What else we got?
You could actually make your own story with all these clips.
You think?
I think.
Have you dropped another plate or something?
No. I haven't. It's so crazy. Anyway. So, Shenmue. It's a funny game.
I hope they do a re-release, HD re-release of both of them. I don't see how they couldn't.
No.
They have to get people who weren't alive during that time at least remotely interested, right?
Well, if you remember, for
new one?
Shenmue 2, it came with a DVD called Shenmue the Movie.
Oh, that was awful.
Which was an hour and a bit of all the cutscenes. Well, not all the cutscenes, but the main cutscenes, story cutscenes from Shenmue 1. You can find it at all good YouTube stores locally.
I hope they don't do that.
Well, they're going to have to do something.
Well, they're
like
going to
that.
have to do something, but I just hope they... I mean, just clean up the graphics a bit and throw it on PSN and Xbox Live. Sega could do it. It'll make them... It might even make them some of their money back, right? From 20 years ago.
Well, you'd think so. I mean, there was a report, what was it, 2-3 years ago, of like HD Shenmue is finished. 1 and 2. And Sega just didn't release it for whatever reason. It was quite a creditable story, apparently. And that obviously never happened. I can't see why they wouldn't have released it. You never know. There might be some crazy law or something that they broken.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, Shenmue. Sega does finally talk Shenmue.
And there will be more talking of Shenmue in about a decade. If we're still doing this, yeah.
I might
who
just
knows?
put this up.
Yeah, who knows?
I'm sure we're going to have to talk about it again when Shenmue 3 comes out. When do you think Shenmue 3 will appear?
I think it's hilarious that the tentative release date right now is December 2017.
Is it really?
It would not surprise me if it got pushed back.
I don't
even
think that's
further.
coming out then.
No,
No.
I don't think so either.
I personally think they will end up splitting it up into parts, which would be hilarious.
Like Final Fantasy VII?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I think they're going to do like 3 parts of Shenmue 3, which is...
Wouldn't surprise me.
I think that's going to be a trend that's going to happen.
Well, we can get more into the Final Fantasy VII talk on our other podcast.
Ooh!
Shameless plug.
Dylan Way. Very good, very good. Do you want to do this,
Yeah.
Joe? Now, our other podcast, as he mentioned, is the Nintendo Experience. How dare he say that word on Radio Sega? Oh, dear.
Experience. Yeah.
Yes, the Nintendo Experience, but experience is with an X, people. Remember that.
Yep.
Because we're cool like that.
So that when you abbreviate, it looks like the NX.
It does.
You know,
See what we
because
did there?
that's
Yeah.
that's what Nintendo's next system
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Probably not going to be called, but you know.
It's like calling a podcast the Dolphin. It's going to be so dated in like 2 years. Like, why did you call your podcast the NX? Well, it was the code name for... Never mind.
And then we can just pretend we always were calling it with an EX instead of an X, so that...
Yeah, we're trying to be clever. Anyway, you can find the Nintendo Experience on all good iTunes stores. Just search for it, you'll find it. or at the Nintendo XP on Twitter. Dylan,
Yes.
you exist in the Twitterverse. What
I
is
do.
your handle?
Vaguely. My handle is at the Dylan the. That's TheDylanThe. And I will tweet about whatever I feel like. Video games are but a mere part of it. And you can also find me at segadoes.com, where I am currently working through the 1989 Master System catalog, which is awful. But we're almost... Oh, well, I haven't gotten to Wonder Boy 3, which I've heard is good. But what I've been playing is just feels like the dregs, man. It's just the dregs.
You have been going for a bit of a lull, I will say.
Yeah, people trying to defend Montezuma's revenge.
Oh, don't do that. That hurts.
Ooh, that's
anyway,
anyway.
Shenmue people, seek it out.
Shenmue.
Seek it out. We'll do. Now, usually we go out with a Sega jingle, but you know what? This Shenmue music's so nice, I think we're just going to fade into the Shenmue music. So this was the Sega Does episode 30, the special Winterfest 2015 edition for Radio Sega. We do this every year. We hope to do it every year until we finish, which probably will be every year for the rest of eternity. So, Dylan, until next time, Sega. It's good to be blue.
Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7.